Just 11 days to go. The release so close I can taste it. It's crazy just that we've come this far. I really realized how far we'd come. Like I was watching some of my past videos. And it's funny, like some of the issues I've forgotten about, like, didn't turn out to be that important. A lot of the major issues I discussed, like, I didn't think would be important, and now they actually are kind of important. Well, I'm not really worried about a Caspian Susan romance, personally. So it's kind of funny going back and looking at those videos. But the weekend in Narnia is over. And there's a new clip from the Dancing Along. I'm going to talk about that first, and if I have time, I'll talk about some more stuff. But the clip is, Caspian trying to convince the old Narnians to accept him as the king. And obviously the major difference here is that in the book, it doesn't take long for the old Narnians to accept Caspian. Truffle Hunter and all of them are taking Caspian around. And there's a little bit of, well, they were skeptical at first, but in the end they accepted Caspian. That's about as far as it goes in the book. And here it's like it takes, this entire scene for them to accept Caspian. In fact, it looks like the majority of the army in this clip is against it. And which I think is a fine change, especially when I see this clip, because I think it really gives you the opportunity to show how the Narnians have been persecuted. The fact that they're suspicious of Caspian, it gives them the opportunity to say things like, they've taken our lives, our freedom, our homes, and you really get to realize what's been taken, what's gone wrong, and which will make it all the more joyful at the end when the old ways finally return. And so I think it's a fine change, and it's also very appropriate that Nickabrick he's leading the way as far as the opposition against Caspian. Obviously, Nickabrick is he wants to kill Caspian initially in the book, and as we also know from a little clip in this video before, that he does the same thing in the movie. And so it's really appropriate that they're going to have Nickabrick do this. He was skeptical pretty much, I think, to the very end. Like, in the end, he accepted Caspian, but in the book, he was always skeptical. I mean, which is why he ended up wanting to turn to the White Witch in the book. He just was not happy with what Caspian was doing. And a lot of lines from the book in this clip. I'm so happy. Like, I love Glenstorm saying the time is ripe, which is from the book, and the whole thing about a son of Adam has come forth. Truffle Hunter saying, we badgers remember well that Narnia was never right, except when a son of Adam was king, And both those lines are very similar to lines in the book. I'm so happy. Before Lion the Witch and the Wardrobe came out, I don't remember being aware of that many lines from the book that were going to be in the movie, and as it ended up, there weren't really that many lines from the book in the Wardrobe movie. But I haven't seen Caspian yet, and I'm already aware of several. Another one comes later in this in another clip where Peter said, in the book Edmund says it, but here Peter says, that's the trouble with girls. They can never carry a map in their heads. And Lucy says, that's because our heads have something in them. Very funny line from the book, and I'm glad that they're putting it in there. The visual effects look incredible. I thought the centaurs in the first movie were easily the best movie centaurs ever done, and they were really well done. But I look at Glenstorm in this clip, and I just cannot. I mean, obviously the clip is really low. I mean, I've seen it on TV, and it's not in the theater. But I look at that, and just the way he moves doesn't give anything away. I can't tell that it's not real. It looks completely convincing, and a couple of new Night Raid shots you've seen where Glenstorm is running through the castle, amazing. Like I know that they gave the actor power risers, and I know how they did it. I saw it there when I was on the set, but I still have a hard time believing it. It's like it looks so utterly convincing, even when he's running. I would think that would be the hardest part with the centaurs, is getting it to look real, even when a two-legged actor is running, and get that to make sense with the horse body. But it looks completely believable. I'm totally blown away by how they've really won up the effects in the first movie. And the effects in the first movie were quite good, but they've really gone. They just totally 200% better in this one. Really impressed. There's a few places in the Dancing Long clip where the editing looks pretty choppy, and so I really think that this clip is going to be longer in the final film. And so I'll see what they do with that, but this just gives us a sense of what the scene's like. Also really cool to see this clip because this is the very first set I visited in Prague. Only when I saw it there it was half finished. But it just really puts into perspective for me how long it takes to make movies. Like, obviously, I know for a long time, it takes a few years and all this stuff, and it's several months of shooting, blah blah blah. And I understood all that, but when almost a year ago I was on that set, and now here I am, like, about to see the movie. It just really it puts into perspective just how long it takes to make these movies. It really makes me understand, like, emotionally, like, wow, that's a long time. That was forever ago I went there, and I'm actually going to see the movie. So cool to see the finished result. Then there's a few other scenes that have come out of the weekend in Narnia. A lot of them I didn't have time to discuss in the other video because I talked about the two clips. But there's a moment on the beach where Peter extends his hand to Trumpkin. This is, looks like it's just after they rescued him, and he says, "I'm hiking Peter, the Magnificent," and then Trumpkin just kind of, because he doesn't look so magnificent, I guess. And I just don't. They've taken this clip here, especially, just made it look like Peter. I just wanted to say, hello, or do you not understand what's going on? I mean, it's like he's totally oblivious to everyone around him. He doesn't realize how ridiculous he is by saying the Magnificent. Or maybe it's just bad acting. I don't know. But Trumpkin, being the big skeptic, of course, is immediately like, right. I think it's kind of what he's thinking. And of course, there's another part of the clip where he says, "You've got to be kidding me," which I love. They've really made Trumpkin the big. There's that scene also in one of the other clips where he kind of, Truffle Hunter says something, and he just kind of almost rolls his eyes. And I like the idea of having like something. I think they might have something between Truffle Hunter and Trumpkin, where it's like basically every time Truffle Hunter opens his mouth, Trumpkin's just like, and because let's face it, they're the exact opposites in the book. Truffle Hunter completely believes the story to the very end. Trumpkin, even after he meets the Pevensies, is still skeptical of the old stories. He's the skeptic almost to the very end, and so that's kind of appropriate. Then there's a part where Lucy says, "It's Aslan," and turns, and he's gone. The scene that's in the book. It makes me. How are they going to do? I still wonder. This is one of the issues I brought up, I think, in video number 3, when I was kind of outlining what the central issues were for the film, and that we knew of at that time, at least. And I'm still no closer to understanding how they're going to do it. How are they going to do the scene where some of them can see Aslan, some of them can't? In the book, it plays fine. All you have to do is say, "Oh, well, Lucy could see him, and the others couldn't." But visually, I think it'd be very confusing to have all the characters looking at him. Lucy saying, "There he is," and they're all going, "What? I don't see anything." You're like, are they blind? It plays a lot. It makes a lot of sense in the book, but in a movie, I don't see how that would have the same effect visually. The only solution I can think of that might work is, what if Lucy catches a glimpse of Aslan? It's like, "Oh, there he is," and she kind of, "Oh, there he is now," and they keep following him, and then she just catches little glimpses of him. I think visually that would make the scene work. The only thing is, it would the whole idea behind the scene in the book is that the others don't have faith enough in Aslan to see. Basically, they have to believe, and then eventually they all come to see him. So it would kind of mess with that. Although you could say they still have to trust Lucy. That that Lucy does have this special bond with Aslan, and she knows Aslan when she sees him, like she says. And but I just visually I can't think of a great way to make this scene work in a movie. And as long as I think they can probably still be faithful to the spirit of it, but still find a more cinematic way of doing it. But it's very hard for me to say that because it's one of my favorite scenes in the book, and thematically so important to Prince Caspian. A couple lines from Miraz here. He says, "It seems Narnia is in need of a new king," and he says, "I intend to strike back." And I love his voice, and his accent is so cool. It's the first time we've heard, "You were right to fear me," but this is we kind of said that under his breath. This is the real line we've heard him, and it just sounds so cool. I love his accent. A couple shots of the mice fighting, and in the book, I thought the first clip we saw when Repeat was introduced, that was on ABC, that clip was really faithful to how Lewis says the mice fight, which is they'll poke their feet, and if they don't fall over, someone will finish them off. If they do fall over, the mice will finish them off, And so I thought that was really faithful to that. But here was seeing some clips where the mice are just not jumping and knocking people over, And looking at that, I just didn't really believe it that, little mice could take out. I mean, the soldiers probably freaked out, mice attacking him. But I didn't really believe it. It just didn't look believable to me that the mice would be able to do that. And so I might be taking that a little too far, And they're their real strength is stealth, I think, in the book. And although in the battle, I guess there's so much going on, they're less likely to be noticed anyway. But so overall, I gotta say, these Weekend in Narnia has completely taken me from in total despair over the Caspian Susan thing to almost on top of the world. And I'm still worried about the Caspian Susan thing. Don't get me wrong. And if it's what it looks like, that'd be terrible. But everything else just looks so awesome. It's hard not to be happy, even though it's very possible when I see the movie and see the Caspian Susan thing, maybe I'll freak out. But everything else just looks superb right now, and feeling pretty good going into these last 11 days of anticipation of Prince Caspian.